Hi, this is Matt Erskine. This is a complement to my earlier video that shows the book collection, and this is some more of the books. These are actually reference books rather than novels and things of that nature. But what I'm just going to try and adjust this a little bit. There we go. The reason why I was showing these is to give some context to the beginning of a discussion on succession planning. And succession planning is going to be an ongoing topic for the next few videos. But one of the fundamental things that you have to keep in mind is that people, when they're dealing with ownership of almost anything, whether it be books or company or artwork or even intangibles like copyrights, they are predictably irrational, what's sometimes called behavioral economics. And fundamentally, what it is that, and there's a book called Predictably Irrational, and it goes into detail on some of the things. These are not absolute predictors of things, but it's what people will do if they don't think through the process. And the first thing is the fact that the truth is not absolute. Um, when you're in a situation where you think that someone's going to be able to rationally pick the best solution for them, it's not true. And you can, in fact, sort of trick someone into picking the choice that you would like by creating what's called a decoy, which is if you have two significantly different alternatives, buy or sell, you could say, well, we have one that is buy but less, and you're inclined, even though that's a decoy and your best option is to sell, that by having a buy for more and buy for less, you say, well, if I buy for less, it'll be better than the buying for more. But because it's so radically different than selling, you don't consider the selling as an option, even though from an objective point of view, selling in your particular case may be the most appropriate thing to do. The second is that demand is not inversely related to supply, particularly when you're owning something. Um, an example is diamonds. Diamonds are relative to much more rarer gemstones, are much more common. If you take a look at a high quality ruby or a high quality emerald, there are many fewer mines and many of them are no longer producing in comparison to the enormous quantities of diamonds that have been extracted. But diamonds are carat for carat and many times much more valuable, except to some exotic collectors, than you would have a ruby or an emerald. And this is because diamonds are associated with being valuable, and therefore they are valuable. Um, the other is that the fact that a gift has no cost. If you get something for free, well, you should take it because, after all, it doesn't cost you anything. But in fact, you may be acquiring a relationship or an asset which in the long run is going to cost you money. And so many times it's better to pay for exactly what you need rather than get for free something that you don't need and is going to be a burden later on. And finally, the value of an object or a business is directly related to how much you feel that you possess it. And if you don't own it, the value usually is one thing, and if you do own it, that ownership possession makes it a premium. A classic example is if you have an in-person auction where you make a bid on, say, a book, and you immediately have a sense of ownership, even though the auction is now ongoing. So that if somebody comes and overbids you, you would say, well, I don't want to lose it. Well, how can you lose it if you never actually owned it? But you do feel that you're going to lose it, so you bid higher. And they bid higher because they're afraid of losing it. And so it goes on and on and on, and you get into what's called a bidding war until both of you are bidding at rates that if you had gone objectively by yourself without somebody else saying, I'm going to bid higher than you, you would never have done. So that you see this in an auction situation, and it's something that when you're selling a business, most of the investment banks deliberately try to promote, is you get into a bidding war because once they make a bid, they're willing to go higher, a bit higher, in order to keep it because they feel that they have an ownership in it. So when you're coming into any type of succession planning, the first thing you have to understand is that the personalities involved and the predictably irrational behavior that human beings have when they possess something comes into a great deal of play. And if you ignore those things, your succession plan is guaranteed, absolutely positively, to fail. I'm going to be discussing other topics in regards to succession planning, not just estate planning, but also how does it integrate into a business plan, how does it integrate into dealing with your family over the next few videos. Thank you.